Hello, this is my Epiphone SG. I've had it since about 97. I bought it when I was a teenager because I was obsessed with Black Sabbath. Now this doesn't work and it hasn't worked for quite some time, so today I'm going to be rewiring it. So I thought I would show you what that involved. Okay, so this is my oscilloscope. It's not very good. It's actually very similar to the one that I made out of a kit that involved soldering surface mounts. That was exciting. That did work for a bit, although I left it switch on for a long time and it burned out, so that was a bit sad. This isn't very good, it's not very fast, and in complete honesty, I'm not that experienced at setting it up, but I think it can give me some useful information about what's going on with my guitar. So this is the oscilloscope running directly off one of the pickups. It's not going through any of the tone control or volume control. And broadly, it makes sense. We're getting a voltage out in the order of millivolts. We're getting a low frequency because it's a low string. Just looking at this on a very basic sense, if I move to a higher string, frequency goes up. Now I have the oscilloscope running after the tone and volume control and switch and all of the basic circuitry inside the guitar, and when I pluck the string nothing happens. The oscilloscope isn't being triggered because at some point the signal is getting lost because there's a fault. What I could do is troubleshoot and figure out what's going on, but given the age of the guitar, I think probably the best thing to do is actually just replace all of the circuitry. So this is now the back of the guitar and the oscilloscope's plumbed in. There's an earth wire here, and this is where the negative clip of the oscilloscope is going, and the positive clip of the oscilloscope is coming from, well, it's actually attached to the potentiometer, but it's the point where the wire that comes off the pickup, the blue wire, where that attaches to the potentiometer. So essentially this is coming straight from the pickup, and that's where I'm getting the signal. So I can use that to check both pickups are still active, because if they are, that can save me a bit of repair work, because the repair work will just be done on this circuitry inside the guitar cavity without actually changing the pickups or the wires from the pickups. Just a very quick addendum before I actually start taking the guitar apart and putting the new circuit in. I'm going to draw the circuit and then I'll know exactly where things connect. If it doesn't work, at the very least I can put it back to how it was, because I've made that mistake before and it's really frustrating. But of course these days with everything, literally all of human knowledge is on the internet, so worst case scenario, if it doesn't work, at least you can go online and look at a circuit diagram and find something that works for your guitar, so it's not the end of the world really. So it's a relatively simple circuit. We have a wire that comes from each of the pickups. From there it goes into a part which controls the volume, it's just a variable resistor, and from it there into another part. And this part has a capacitor in conjunction with it, and when you put a resistor and a capacitor together you get a high cut filter, so this is the tone control. So it's kind of easy to see how the switch works because it's so simple. All we've got is two sprung plates that close to make a contact, and that this bit of white plastic in here, when you switch it, that just pushes the contacts apart, and then the spring plates on the other side can connect. So that's literally all it's doing, is breaking a contact by pushing on the sprung plates. One thing I've struggled with is the hookup wire that's in the guitar is dual core. Well, it's a core and it's a shield, so it's very easy to earth because you can use the shield to earth. I've not been able to find exactly the same wire, but what I'm doing is I've kind of started making a circuit, so I've got the jack plug. I'm going to try and use the same colour code just to make things easier, but where I have to put in my own earth, because I don't have this braided shield that I can solder together, I'm just using an orange wire. So I'll keep it all consistent, so hopefully that'll make it relatively easy to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start from the output and work backwards, so we go from the output to the selector switch. I got my components from two different suppliers, Black Dog Music, who are now my favourite because you get a free pick when you order from them, and also Northwest Guitars in Cheshire. I've had this guitar for almost 25 years now, and it lived in the garage for about 5, and when I got it out of the garage, the knobs were really corroded. You couldn't read the labels on them anymore. I've cleaned them up a bit. I'll give them another polish before it goes back together. Let's see if it's working. All I've done so far is the output jack. I actually find these really difficult to solder. I find the lugs, because they're quite thick, they don't sort of conduct the heat very well. So in the end, I found the best thing to do was just whap the iron up as hot as it would physically go. It's really important that you get enough heat that the solder can flow and sort of chemically bond with the surface, as well as electrically bond, because otherwise, as these wires move around, eventually they'll just pull away. And the first time I ever did a bass guitar, that's what happened, and then I had to pay somebody else to fix it because it didn't work very well at all. At the switch, the earth just connects onto the body of the switch, so we can do that. I don't have my clamp out at the moment, so I'm just using electrical tape to tape things down while I solder them. Tape them to the edge of the table, which is covered in curry from last night's dinner.
To cover up the gravy stain.
It's curry, actually. Look, I'm highly skilled professional. If you want to do this and you don't fancy such a lengthy wiring job, there are wiring kits available for guitars. But the wiring kits range from just a parts kit to upgrades to a completely wired loom that you can literally just plug into your pickups and your earth. So there is quite a variety in there, and also quite a variety in quality and price. So this is my progress so far. Still quite a lot to go. No major disasters, so that's pretty good. So this is one of the tone caps going in, and these are not polarised, so they can go in either way around. Something I learnt from doing the first tone pot is it's actually a bit fiddly to get this in place once the cable's in place, so I'm going to do this first and then wire it into the rest of the circuit. And remembering to keep the tip nice and clean on the soldering iron, and trying to avoid breathing in lead and trying to avoid touching my face. But to be honest, once when I was about 10, I accidentally ate some mercury, so I think my time of worrying about ingesting heavy metals is probably long gone. Fiddly, fiddly, fiddly. Okay, so I have the scope set up a bit better now. If I twiddle the knobs that are attached, they seem to make small changes on the scope, so it's not very scientific, but I'm reasonably confident that my circuit actually does something and it's passing current, and at some point I'm going to have to stop procrastinating and actually chop off the old circuit and install the new one, so that's my next step. Oh, how sad is that? It's an empty guitar. Completely empty. My original intention was just to wire straight on to the existing pickup wires, but actually over time they've got quite oxidised, so they're not a very good surface for taking solder anymore. So what I've done with the red wire is just cut the end off and then very carefully expose a new bit of cable so that I can solder that on. I'm a bit more worried with the blue wire because I've got less reach to do that, but we'll see how it goes. So it's all back together now. I'm glad to say it actually works. I can't help thinking that that cavity in the back is just crying out for some more circuitry. I think the obvious thing to do would be to take the small voltage that comes out of the guitar and use that as a control voltage for an oscillator. But, you know, I've had it for a long time and I don't really want to drill any more holes in it, if I'm honest.